What if I told you that your own body has been whispering the word diabetes to you every single morning when you put on your socks, and you have been walking right past the warning? What if the very first signs of a disease that quietly destroys the nerves, the kidneys, the eyes, and the heart of millions of Americans, are not hiding deep inside your blood? They are sitting in plain sight, at the end of your legs, before any blood test, before any doctor ever says the word, before any lab result ever comes back. The warnings are already there, on your feet. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for, what almost everyone gets wrong, and the 9 silent signs that could save your life or the life of someone you love. Please stay with me until the very end, because sign number 9, that one, almost nobody talks about. Most doctors will not even mention it. Most patients will never notice it. But once you learn it, you will never look at your own legs the same way again. My name is Dr. Edward Wright. I have been practicing medicine for more than 20 years, and in that time, I have sat across from thousands of patients. Good people, hard-working people, people who raised their families, served their country, built lives full of meaning. And I can tell you, with my hand on my heart, the single hardest conversation I have in my office is not telling a patient they have diabetes. It is telling them they have had diabetes for 3 years and nobody noticed. Let me share something with you. A patient of mine, Margaret, she walked into my office 2 months ago, 72 years old, sharp as a tack, walks her little terrier around the block every single morning. She came to see me because her left knee had been bothering her and she thought she needed a cortisone shot. A simple visit. But before I touched her knee, I asked her to please take off her shoes and her socks. She laughed at me. "Doctor," she said, "my knee is up here, not down there." I told her, "Margaret, humor an old doctor." And when I looked at her feet, I saw 3 of the 9 signs I am about to share with you today. She looked down, blinked, and said, "Oh, that has been there for a while. I just figured it was part of getting older." "Margaret," I said, "you are getting a blood test today, not next week. Today." Her fasting sugar came back at 218. She had been living with diabetes for nearly 3 years and had absolutely no idea. And Margaret is not unusual. The American Diabetes Association estimates that 1 in every 5 Americans with diabetes does not know they have it. That is more than 8 million of our neighbors, our friends, our brothers and sisters, walking around right now with a silent condition that is quietly damaging their nerves, their kidneys, their eyes, and yes, their feet. A simple $12 blood test can catch this early, but first, you have to know what to look for. So let us begin. Sign number 1. It is something almost every person watching this video has already felt, and almost every one of them has waved it off as nothing. The tingling, the pins and needles, that strange, prickly, fuzzy, half-numb feeling in the toes, or across the sole, or along the side of the foot. My patients almost always tell me the same thing. "Doctor, my foot just fell asleep because I was sitting funny," or "my socks were too tight," or "I crossed my legs wrong." And yes, that happens to every human being once in a while. But here is the question I need you to ask yourself, honestly. Is this happening over and over again for no clear reason at all? When you are standing in the kitchen? When you are lying flat in bed? If the answer is yes, your body is trying to warn you. The medical name for this is peripheral neuropathy, and it is one of the earliest, most reliable signs that your blood sugar has been quietly elevated for a very long time. Here is what is actually happening inside your foot. Think of every nerve in your body like an old telephone wire running through the walls of your house. Each wire has a plastic coating wrapped around it that keeps the signal traveling clean from one end to the other. Now imagine leaving that wire outside in acid rain for 10 years straight. The coating starts peeling. It gets thin, it gets patchy, and suddenly, instead of a clear call, all you hear on the line is static. That static, that is the tingling in your foot. Your nerves are not dead yet, but the coating is wearing thin, and the signals are getting scrambled. The American Diabetes Association reports that peripheral neuropathy affects nearly 50% of everyone living with diabetes. It is the most common complication of the disease, and it almost always starts in the feet. Your daily habit for this is the simplest thing in the world, a 20 to 30-minute walk every single day. Not a jog, a walk. Movement pushes fresh blood into your feet, feeds your nerves, and begins to undo the damage. And please, cut added sugar out of your diet, starting with your very next meal. Not Monday, not next month, your next meal. Sign number 2 is the one my patients call the most distressing of all, because it does not come during the day when they are busy, surrounded by life. It comes at night, when the lights are off, and there is nothing left to distract them. A burning in the soles of the feet, sometimes in the toes. A deep, hot, uncomfortable feeling, almost like the skin is sitting too close to a heater. And nearly every patient first tells me, "Doctor, I was on my feet all day," or "It was the summer heat," or "My shoes are too tight." And sometimes, yes, that is all it is. But when a patient tells me their feet feel like they are burning, specifically at night, in bed, under a sheet, I take that very, very seriously. Burning at night is a classic early sign of diabetic nerve damage. Here is what is actually happening. The nerves in your feet have been sitting in elevated sugar for months or years, and they are starting to misfire. They are sending hot, painful signals to your brain, even though nothing hot is touching your foot at all. Think of it like an old smoke detector in your kitchen that has gone bad. The battery is weak, the sensor is fried, and in the middle of the night, for absolutely no reason, it starts screaming. There is no fire. There is no smoke. The sensor is just broken, firing false alarms. That is exactly what your nerves are doing. The burning is not coming from the outside world. It is coming from inside damaged nerve tissue that is crying out for help. Research published in the journal Diabetes Care found that burning foot pain is one of the very first symptoms reported by patients later diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, often showing up 1 to 3 years before a formal diagnosis. 2 habits for this one. First, drink at least 8 glasses of water every single day. Hydration helps your kidneys flush excess sugar and supports nerve tissue. Second, add fiber to every meal. Vegetables, beans, oats, lentils. Fiber slows how fast sugar enters your bloodstream, which is exactly what those damaged nerves are begging for. Sign number 3 is one so many of you have had for years, and probably laughed about with your spouse 100 times. Cold feet, feet that feel like ice cubes no matter what you do. I hear it all the time. "Doctor, my wife has been stealing the electric blanket from me for 30 winters straight," and I laugh with them. But then I ask the question that matters. Are your feet cold in July? Are your feet cold under a sheet in a warm house in August? Because that, my friend, is a very different story. Feet that stay cold, regardless of the weather. Cold in summer. Cold under heavy blankets. Cold even when the rest of your body feels warm. That is a strong sign your circulation has been damaged. The blood vessels that are supposed to carry warm blood down to your toes have narrowed and stiffened. Not enough warm blood is reaching the end of the line. Think about your house in the winter. The furnace is running in the basement, pumping hot air through pipes to every room. But one of the pipes, the one going to the back bedroom upstairs, has partially collapsed over the years. The furnace is working just fine. The heat is there. But that back bedroom stays freezing, no matter how high you crank the thermostat, because the pipe is half blocked. That is exactly what is happening in your feet. The heart is pumping. The blood is warm. But the highway carrying it down to your toes has narrowed, and the heat is not arriving. The American Heart Association reports that peripheral artery disease, caused by narrowed blood vessels, affects more than 8 million Americans, and diabetes is the single largest risk factor. Cold feet are one of its earliest and most consistent symptoms. The best habit here is a 30-minute brisk walk every single day. Not a slow stroll, a purposeful, arm-swinging walk. This forces blood into your feet and lower legs, strengthens the vessel walls, and over time can actually reverse some of the early narrowing. If 30 minutes feels like too much, start with 10. But start today, and listen. If those first three signs just made you think of someone you love, wait until you see sign number 4. It is sitting on the feet of millions of Americans right now, including many of you watching me, and almost nobody connects it to blood sugar. Everyone thinks it is just a winter thing, or old age, or dry skin. It is not. And sign number 5 is the one that brings more of my senior patients into my office worried than any other, and most of them have been ignoring it for years. Stay right with me. Before we go one step further, I need you to stay with me. Because what I am about to tell you next is the sign that most seniors in America have right now, on their feet, tonight. And they have been staring at it for 10 years without knowing what it truly means. They have been buying creams for it. They have been complaining about it to their spouse. They have been hiding it inside their socks when they go to the doctor. And every single day that they ignore it, their body is getting weaker. Their blood sugar is climbing higher. The damage is spreading deeper. So please do not click away. Do not go to the kitchen. Do not put your phone down. Because what you are about to learn in the next 4 minutes could be the single most important thing you hear all year. Sign number 4, cracked heels. And I already know what most of you are thinking, because I have heard it from thousands of patients sitting in the same chair, in the same office, saying the same sentence. Dr. Wright, my heels crack every winter. It is just dry skin. My mother had it. My grandmother had it. It runs in the family. And I always nod, and I always smile. And then I ask them one simple question. Are your heels cracking in July? Are they cracking in August, in the middle of a heat wave, when the air is thick and humid? Because if the answer is yes, and no lotion in the world seems to fix it no matter how much you slather on, then you are not looking at a skin problem. You are looking at a nerve problem, and it is a serious one. I had a patient last spring. His name was Walter. 68 years old, a retired mailman, walked 5 miles a day for 40 years, delivering letters. A tough, proud man. His wife finally dragged him into my office because his heels were so cracked, they were bleeding into the sheets at night. He had been putting Vaseline on them for 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Nothing worked. He thought he was just getting old. I looked at his feet. I asked him a few questions, and within 30 minutes we had a diagnosis. His fasting sugar was 241. Here is what was actually happening inside Walter. Diabetes does not just damage the nerves that let you feel, it also damages something called your autonomic nerves, the silent, invisible nerves that run the automatic systems of your body, the ones that tell your heart to beat, your stomach to digest, and your skin to sweat. When those autonomic nerves get damaged by years of high blood sugar, the sweat glands in your feet simply stop working. Your feet lose their natural moisture from the inside out, and no lotion on earth can replace what those nerves are supposed to be doing for you. Think of the skin on your heel like the wall of an old brick house. The bricks are held together by mortar, and that mortar needs to stay moist and sealed to keep the wall strong. Now imagine the mortar drying out completely from the inside. Little cracks start appearing. The wall still stands, but the cracks grow wider and deeper every single month. And here is the part that should scare you, because it scared Walter. Those cracks in your heels are not just ugly, they are open doors. Open doors for bacteria, open doors for fungus, open doors for infection. And in a foot where circulation is already poor because of high blood sugar, a simple crack can turn into a serious wound, very, very quickly. The American Podiatric Medical Association lists chronic, hard-to-treat heel cracking as one of the major warning signs of autonomic neuropathy in seniors, a condition directly linked to long-term elevated blood sugar. Your daily habit is this. Every single night, before bed, wash your feet, dry them completely, and apply a thick moisturizer, a good foot cream, or even pure coconut oil, to your heels and soles. Rub it in gently, but please, listen carefully. Never apply moisturizer between your toes. Moisture trapped in that tight space breeds fungal infection. And drink your 8 glasses of water every day. Your skin needs to be hydrated from the inside, just as much as from the outside. Sign number 5, and this one I need you to pay very close attention to, because it is not just a problem with your feet. It is a silent alarm going off for what is happening deeper inside your body. In one of your most important organs, your kidneys, swelling in the feet and ankles, puffy feet, sock marks at the end of the day that stay pressed into your skin for 20, 30, 40 minutes after you take the sock off. And almost every patient tells me the same thing. Doctor, I sat all day. Doctor, I stood all day. Doctor, I flew on a plane. And yes, occasional swelling from a long day is perfectly normal. But when it is happening every single evening, consistently, night after night, when your ankles have started to look thicker than they used to, when your shoes suddenly feel tight at 6 p.m. but fit fine at 7 a.m., please, pay attention. Your body is telling you something important. Here is what is really going on inside you. High blood sugar, year after year, slowly damages the tiny filters inside your kidneys, and your kidneys are what control the fluid balance of your entire body. When those filters start to fail, fluid has nowhere to go. It begins to accumulate in the lowest point of your body, which, thanks to gravity, is your feet and your ankles. This is called edema. Think of your kidneys like the water treatment plant for an entire city. Every drop of water in the city flows through that plant to be cleaned and filtered before it moves on. Now imagine the filters in that plant slowly clogging up over the years with sludge. The plant can still run, but it cannot keep up. Water backs up. It floods the lowest streets of the city first, and in your body, the lowest streets are your feet. Press your finger firmly into the swollen area of your ankle. If the indentation stays there, if you can see a little crater in your skin that takes 10-20 seconds to bounce back, that is what doctors call pitting edema, and it is not something to ignore. The National Kidney Foundation reports that diabetic kidney disease affects approximately 1 in 3 adults living with diabetes, and swelling in the lower legs is frequently the very first visible sign that kidney function is starting to break down. Your daily habit is simple. When you sit in your chair to watch television tonight, put your feet up on a stool or a pillow, higher than your heart if you can manage it, even a few inches. This helps gravity pull the fluid back up and out of your feet. And cut back on salt. Please, read the labels on your canned soups, your frozen dinners, your deli meats. Sodium makes your body hold water, and that makes swelling dramatically worse. If the swelling is new or getting worse, do not wait for your next yearly checkup. Call your doctor this week. Now I need to stop for a moment, because we have just walked through 5 signs together, 5 warnings, 5 chances for your body to tell you something is wrong. And I want to ask you, truly, honestly, right now, have you seen any of these signs on yourself, on your husband, on your wife, on your mother or father, on a brother, on a neighbor, on someone you love, even one of them? If the answer is yes, I want you to stop what you are doing and type one word in the comments below. Just one word. Type the word aware in capital letters. Aware. That word tells me you are paying attention. It tells me you are taking your health seriously. And it tells YouTube to show this video to more seniors across the country who desperately need to hear what we are talking about right now. I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone. If you have a question, ask it. If you are worried about something you just saw in your own feet, tell me. That is why I made this channel. Not to lecture at you, but to talk with you. Like a neighbor, over a cup of coffee. And please hit the like button below this video. It takes 1 second, 1 click. But for a senior somewhere in America tonight, that 1 click might be the reason this video lands on their screen, and the reason they catch their diabetes before it catches them. Now stay with me, because sign number 6 is the one that sends more people to the emergency room than any other sign on this list. It starts as something that looks so small, so harmless, so easy to ignore. A tiny cut, a little blister from a new pair of shoes. And 3 weeks later, it has become the reason someone I know lost their foot. I am going to tell you his full story in just a moment. Do not go anywhere. Sign number 6. The slow healing wound. And this is the sign that haunts me the most, because I've watched it steal independence from good, honest people who never saw it coming. A man came into my office last year. His name was Harold, 71 years old. He had bought a new pair of walking shoes, and after a week, a small blister formed on his big toe. Nothing dramatic, just the size of a pea. He put a bandage on it and went about his life. 3 weeks later, that blister hadn't healed. It had gotten bigger, and the skin around it had turned a strange purple. When I took off his sock, I could smell the infection before I even saw the wound. Harold kept his foot, thank God, but barely. His fasting blood sugar was 267. He had been diabetic for probably 4 or 5 years without knowing it. Here is what is actually happening. When your blood sugar is consistently elevated, your body slowly loses its ability to heal. The tiny blood vessels that are supposed to rush oxygen and repair nutrients to a wound become narrow and stiff. Think about trying to water your garden on a hot summer day, but your garden hose has a sharp kink in it. The water is there, the pressure is there, but barely a trickle comes out. The plants wither. That is exactly what happens to a wound on a diabetic foot. All the ingredients for healing exist in your blood, but they cannot reach the wound fast enough. And an open wound that won't close is just an infection waiting its turn. The Centers for Disease Control reports that diabetic foot ulcers are the leading cause of non-traumatic lower limb amputations in the United States, more than 100,000 every single year. Your action step is simple. Tonight, after your shower, sit down under a good light and examine both feet. Look between every toe. Look at your heels. If you find a cut or blister, wash it gently, apply an antiseptic, and cover it. And if it has not clearly improved within 48 hours, I am begging you, call your doctor. Within 48 hours, sign number 7, skin discoloration on the feet and ankles. This one is hiding in plain sight. Patients see it every morning when they step out of the shower and they walk right past it. They tell me, "Doctor, my ankles have always been a little darker. I think it's just from my socks being too tight." Sometimes that's true, but I look for a very specific pattern, a darkening around the ankles, sometimes a deep red, bluish, or purplish tint. Sometimes the skin becomes thin, shiny, almost papery. When I see that, I know circulation has been compromised for a long time. Here is the medical reality. Your feet are at the very end of the longest delivery route in your entire body. When high blood sugar damages those vessels, the delivery of oxygen slows down. Think of your blood like a delivery truck carrying packages of oxygen to every neighborhood in your body. Your feet live in the farthest, most remote neighborhood. Now imagine the roads leading there have been crumbling for years, full of potholes. The trucks can't get through on time. The neighborhood suffers. The lawns turn brown. That is exactly what discolored skin on your ankles is. A neighborhood inside your body that isn't getting what it needs. A study in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology found that these specific skin changes are often detectable 18 months before a formal diabetes diagnosis. That is a 1.5 years of early warning. Your daily habit is 5 minutes every morning. Ankle circles in both directions. 10 toe raises. Even this small amount of movement pushes blood down into your feet and gets those delivery trucks moving again. Sign number 8. Sharp stabbing pain in the feet, often worst at night. This is the sign that gets misdiagnosed more than any other. I cannot tell you how many times a patient has told me, "Doctor, I've been taking ibuprofen for this foot pain for 6 months. I figured it was just arthritis." And I have to gently tell them, that is not arthritis. Here is what is actually happening. When nerves are damaged by long-term high blood sugar, they don't always go numb. Sometimes they become hyperactive. They fire wild, random, intense signals to your brain. You feel it as stabbing pain, electric shocks, or a hot needle driving through your foot, and it almost always comes at night when there is nothing to distract you. Think of a car alarm on a car that's been in a fender bender. The sensor is broken, so every few hours, for no reason at all, the alarm starts screaming in the middle of the night. Nobody is touching the car, the alarm is just broken. That is exactly what a damaged nerve does. The pain is completely real, but the source is nerve dysfunction, not a physical injury. And ibuprofen cannot fix a damaged nerve. It only masks the signal. A landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that painful diabetic neuropathy affects roughly 25% of people with diabetes, and it is frequently mistaken for arthritis or simple joint pain. Your daily habits here are 2. Every morning, spend 5 minutes gently stretching your feet and ankles, and every night, give yourself a 3-minute gentle foot massage. Your nerves will thank you. And now, sign number 9. The sign almost nobody talks about, the one most doctors forget to check. Hair loss. On the lower legs and the tops of the feet. Patients almost never notice it themselves. But during a thorough foot exam, I often see that the hair that used to be there is simply gone. Hair follicles are living things. They need a steady flow of blood and oxygen to function. When circulation is compromised by elevated blood sugar, the follicles in your feet slowly starve. Over time, they just stop growing hair. Think of hair follicles like small plants in a window box. When the irrigation line gets clogged, the plants don't die overnight. They just stop growing, get thinner, and eventually, they're gone. The absence of growth is the message. Your body is telling you that the blood vessels feeding those follicles aren't delivering what they should. Research published in the journal Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism found that hair loss on the lower extremities correlates significantly with peripheral vascular disease in diabetic patients. Right now, right after this video ends, look at your lower legs and the tops of your feet. If the hair is dramatically thinner than the rest of your legs, or if it is gone entirely, schedule a blood glucose test this week. $12 at any certified lab can change the entire direction of your life. We have walked through 9 signs today. 9 chances your body has been giving you, free of charge. The hardest part of my job isn't telling a patient they have diabetes. It's sitting across from someone who has had every single one of these signs for 3 years and is only just finding out what they meant. They didn't have the information, but you, right now, have the information. So here is your homework. Just one thing. Tonight, sit on the edge of your bed and spend 30 seconds looking at your feet. Check the skin, check between the toes, feel for numbness. 30 seconds. And if you see or feel even one of these 9 signs, please call your doctor tomorrow morning. The earlier you catch this, the more of it can be managed, and sometimes completely reversed. You worked too hard for the life you have, for your independence. Don't let something as manageable as blood sugar steal any of that from you. If this video helped you, share it on Facebook right now. Tag a family member or a friend. You might be handing them exactly what they didn't know they needed. And if you want more honest conversations like this one, subscribe. I post a new video every week talking about the things that matter most for your health after 60. I am Dr. Edward Wright. Stay aware, stay proactive, and take good care of those feet. I will see you in the next one.